Welcome back to Tradeonometry. So every single day I come into the market, there are a couple of things that I like to look at to ensure that I'm ready for the trading session. So I don't typically trade the London session, and so when I come in to the New York just before New York Open, so pre-market New York Open, I would check my orbs. So that will be for London, and then when New York opens, I'll of course check New York. So first thing to do is go to the 30-minute chart. So once I'm on a 30-minute chart, this is a clear chart. I want to look for the 8 a.m. candle. So that's when the London exchange opens. So I mark out the first 30 minutes of the high and the low of the session, which is here, and I mark it simply by LORB. So ORB stands for the opening range breakout, and I do London opening range breakout. So the L is for London, and then ORB. It's just as simple as that. And then for the low, it will be LORB, low, London opening range, low. And then this is New York session that's open and kind of doing its thing. But as I'm preparing and just getting ready for the session, I'll go to the daily chart. And then another thing I want to mark out is where we are in relation to price. So today is, of course, what's happening right now, but I want to know what was the high yesterday and what was the low from the previous day. So I indicate this by PDH, previous day high, and of course PDL, which is previous day low. So, and then usually I make these a different color. So for me, I just made them orange just so they stick out. And I know when I go down to the 3-minute or the 10-minute chart, if I'm seeing this orange, then I know I'm close to the previous day low or the previous day high, just depending on the session. And then I'll drop down to the 10-minute chart. And once I'm in a 10-minute chart, I will know. Again, I want to know two things. I want to know where was the low and where was the high pre-market. So before the stock market opens, which is the US stock market, before this candle prints, what's the high and what's the low? I want to just be aware of these key levels. So, and again, I will change these a different color. So let's just make these purple. So I know this is pre-market high, and then I know this is pre-market low. So pre-market low, which is PML. So this is my pre-market low level. And then up here is my pre-market high level. So for me personally, it just depends on what the high and what the low is. So for example, last night we opened at 11 o'clock. So we opened here and we pushed all the way up here. This is 240. So again, this is all Asia session. And then it makes this high at 710. So this is when Europe is kind of opening and stuff. And yeah, so when this happens, and of course London opens here, I would start to use this as like my levels to kind of be aware of and to see how price is going to react from these levels, right? What kind of reactions are we going to get from these levels? So yeah, this is my pre-market high. And then I know that there is a supply up in this area right here, and that means that there are sellers in this area, and if price comes back to this area, which is my pre-market high, then I know that maybe, just maybe, that we might get some kind of continuation, or sorry, a sell-off when price hits there. And I know this is my pre-market low demand. So what does that mean? It means there are likely buyers in this area, and so I look out to see the kind of reactions that we get in this area. So pre-market high supply. When New York opened, we actually never came to it. Hold on, this is the London. They're very close. So I'll put this to the top and then click OK. So then I know this is the New York session right here, beginning. So I know this is the opening range break, orb high. So this is the high of the, again, we can go to the 30-minute candle. And we can see this is when New York opened and made its high. So we know this is the orb high, put this to the bottom. So we differentiate between where London's low is and New York's high is, which is right there. And then New York's low, again, we grab another horizontal and then we go down here. So we know this is the opening range breakout of the low. So this is that low area right there. So pre-market high supply, pre-market low demand, and then this is the the New York session. This is the low that it made in New York. And then what we see is that we broke through the high of New York, we broke through the lows of London, we broke through the highs of London, and of course pre-market high supply, we broke through that as well. So that's all I look at as it pertains to, as soon as I come onto the charts, I need to know where buyers and sellers are and where they have come from. So I'm looking at, so if we go to the 4 hour and we see what happened on the 4 hour, this is not a good representation of price. Why? Because we've just been pumping. So we've literally just been pumping up. So if price is going to come back down to these areas, especially these gaps down here, it would likely do that. But I like to see, if we move across, I like to see things like this. So if we make a low, where is it? Right here. So if we pull this across, I want to see how price reacts in this area. And of course we can break it down further. So it's just a quick example right here, and move this across to here, and then we can refine this. We drop down to the hourly, and then I want to see what price is doing in these areas. So supply, we can see this is a supply rejection right here, and then this supply turn into demand. So this is not perfect, this is very quick, so we can even refine this. I think I had this level, I can't remember if I had it like this, I can't remember. So we broke above supply base, and then we continue pushing up. But those are just quick examples. So in terms of price action and how market is moving, especially, so we're pushing to all-time highs right now. So if we go to ES quickly, so ES is actually let's go to SPY. So SPY's all-time high is here. Let's go to the monthly chart. So the monthly chart for SPY, all-time highs is right here. We can see that we've broken above the all-time high for SPY, and I think the same is true for QQQ. So this is what NASDAQ follows, and yeah, so this is what the NASDAQ 100 follows. SPY is what ES, the S&P 500 follows. So it's the same thing. So we've broken pre-market high, and this is what a lot of retail traders will be trading. They'll be trading SPY, QQQ, especially when it comes to options, as opposed to trading NQ or ES. So I like to look at, so we've broken all-time highs on QQQ, we've broken all-time highs on SPY, and NQ is not far from breaking their all-time high. So because we're pushing up like this after the sell-off from, this is all the Iran war, this is all Trump talking, we sold off into bullish EMAs on the monthly chart. So even though we came down, EMAs are still bullish going up. So I think, yeah, we're going to reach all-time highs and kind of push through this. And then we'll start making new... so hold on one second. Let me turn this off quickly. Let's go down to the hourly. Right. If we zoom across, so as you can see, this is just moving. This is one direction, just moving up. We're going to see price action like this, kind of doing this, zigzagging, going up, going down. And then this will give us a basis in which to trade off. So we can then mark out our supply highs and our demand lows. So again, if we was to mark this out as our supply, what happens? We see clearly price pushed up here, came down, pushed back up, came down, pushed up, came down, pushed up, came down. So we see this area right here, so this entire area, as a very strong supply zone. very strong supply, meaning that price came up, respected it, and then it fell. Because what happens, because this is monthly, so no, this is the hourly actually. So February, so wait, let's do this. So this is February, still Feb, when is this? Okay, and then this is the 25th of February. We finally came back in from the 25th of February after touching the zone on the 12th of February to the 25th. Came back exactly into this area, and then what happened? We dumped. And then when is the next time that we actually retested this area? We did not retest this area at all until when? Literally the 14th of April. And what happened on the 14th of April? We got into supply again. After being down so bad, again, this is news happening. This was Trump saying something, Iran saying something about the war. I remember there's some news came out, because even though we gapped down, we just pumped. So the gap is, just so you can see, price action closed here, and then the next session we gapped down and opened here. So we can see that we just pushed up into this area, we kind of based around here, and then we just kept going up. So now that we're pushing to all-time highs, the same price action is going to be true over the next, who knows, couple days, couple weeks. We just have to wait. Price action is going to do its thing. Who knows what it's going to do? And we just have to wait and see what price action kind of does. But that's just an overview of like market structure. We will go into supply and demand a little bit later. And yeah. Yeah, sorry. We'll go into supply and demand at another time. So as you can see, pre-market high supply. We can see clearly what happened. This is the 10-minute chart. So came up into pre-market high supply. What did I say? There were sellers in this area. Price, we can see that price pushed up here and then it came down. Again, price pushed up here, came down. It didn't continue going down. It based and then, kind of pushed over. So yeah, I'm going to leave it there and then I'll send the things in and then we'll just go over supply and demand. But as soon as you come in every single day, you just want to mark out your previous day high levels. So yeah, your previous day highs and lows, your pre-market high and low, the London opening range. So where London opened, which is here, the first 30 minutes, and then of course New York session, the first 30 minutes. So 10, 20, 30, the high and the low. And that's how you're ready to trade. And we'll go over the next step after.